And today's education topic on Techie Wednesday is Drae Ockenden. Take it away, sir.
Okay, thank you, Jason. So today is a controversial one. It is Windows versus Mac. So, so there's a lot of differences here, and there's a lot of things to consider when you are choosing between Windows or Mac. And some people consider some of these, but then they kind of get it wrong. So I'm going to start off with the obvious one, which is the price. Macs are always more expensive than Windows if you look at the same specs, which is kind of because you're not paying for the specs when you buy a Mac, you're paying for the experience. So that's why they cost more and people still buy them. It's the same with iPhones. You buy it for the feeling, not for the phone itself. So with that, PCs are also easier to customize. So if you wanted to change your RAM, GPU, CPU, fans, water cooling, and a lot more, you can do that with Windows a lot easier and cheaper than if you went and tried to do that with your Mac. With PCs, you also have different cases, so you can move it to a whole new case to fit more things in, get a new motherboard, where Mac is a lot harder to do that. But Mac does have a lot of integration options, which is always a great thing. So you have your Mac here, you have your iPhone, your Apple Watch. If you are wearing your Apple Watch and you walk up to your Mac, it will log in for you if you have that set up, which saves a few seconds, but it's just a nice feature to have. Windows phones can be linked with your PCs, but that's a less popular option. I don't know anyone that has a Windows phone, but it's nice to have. Now 3D rendering and VR. So have any of you played with VR? Like the headsets?
I know, yeah.
So the for VR and 3D rendering, Windows is probably the best for this for multiple reasons. The main reason being that Oculus Rift, who make the headsets for VR, they only work with Windows. So if you have a Mac, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I'm sure they're working on bringing it out for Mac, but at the moment, them and some of the other big VR headset brands only work with Windows. So that is kind of a downside to if you wanted to get a Mac, because VR is cool if you have ever tried it. Now, I don't know.
Read the room, Drae. Read the room.
Well,
we all look like VR people.
That brings me to my next one. I'm going to read the room really well here and say that you're all gamers. So if you're hardcore gamers would know that Windows, hands down, is what you go with for multiple reasons. Like I mentioned before, the GPUs, you can fit big GPUs in Windows cases. Windows also has built-in gaming modes. So by default, you have your Windows G keybind and it will bring up gaming options. If you open a game, it'll automatically switch into gaming mode and you don't need to set this up. It's just by default. Now, another thing that I think is a big one is security. So this is something that always gets brought up when people compare Windows and Mac. People always say that Mac is impossible to hack, and that it's a lot safer. That's not really true for a few reasons. Windows has beefed up their security a lot. So Windows Defender has had a lot of updates in the last few years, and it's very good. And the other side of that is, since people think that Mac is safer, they themselves don't do anything to protect themselves. So 95% of all hacks are actually due to human error. So while you think that you're protected because you're using a Mac, that's actually making it more likely that you're going to get like hacked or attacked in some way. So that is something that I think everyone should keep in mind. Even no matter what platform you're using, even if you are using antivirus software, that will protect you in some ways, but it's you that also need to be smart and know what you're doing. Those are the main things. For the gamers on Steam, which is a main place where you download your games, I'm sure all of you know that, there are over 2,500 games that are only for Windows. And yeah. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Jason.
I've got one. Right. So, PC user for years. 10 years ago, bought a MacBook, hated it, actually gave it to my son and went back to PC. Then 3 years ago, bought a Mac and actually started to use it for what it was meant for. And now I have 2 Macs, a MacBook, a MacBook Air, 2 iPhones, 2 iPads, right? Live the life of Mac. My biggest reason for this is not the high dynamic screens or anything like that. It's the fact that if I do one thing on one,
yeah,
it is replicated on anything. I can save something directly to my desktop while I'm sitting in front of the TV on my laptop and know that that's going to be on my phone. It's going to be on all of my Macs and everything like that. Without having to use OneDrive and upload and then download. And is there a PC equivalent of that?
That is something that Apple do really well. There is. So you do need to download something for it. So I use Google for it. I have installed Google Drive as a drive on my computer. So when I'm editing files, it automatically goes into my Google Drive on my phone and everywhere. So I don't need to upload it manually. As soon as I do it on my computer, it'll automatically sync.
Right. But you could also do that with OneDrive, can't you?
I don't use OneDrive.
Right.
Something that does annoy me with Windows is it keeps coming up with a message saying, finish setting up your PC. And it's only setting up OneDrive, and I don't want to use OneDrive.
Okay, so the advantage of using the Google Drive is you can cross-platform.
Yeah.
So if you're using a PC, if you install Google Drive on your PC and Google Drive on your iPhone, you can do the cross-platform.
Yeah, and in web browsers, all of that. So I find that a lot more helpful because I also don't pay for Microsoft Office, and I don't need to because I use Google. So Google Docs replaces Word and all of that. So that's all free included, and it's all synced to all of my devices.
All right. So before we move on to Stuart, what about doing an education session on all things Google?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because a lot of people don't realize what is available in your Google suite.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got your sheets. I've stopped paying for my Office because I use Google Sheets now.
Yeah,
and I use Google Docs, right? But you've got things like Jamboard. A lot of people don't know that you've got this product that you can draw and do what live on screen, and it's a free Google product. So I'd love you to do that. Stuart.
Well, that's just my background's especially for Drae this morning. Look, there are points for and against up the wazoo, absolutely, and customization is a thing, gaming is a thing. When you're using it in the way that a lot of people are in the room, meaning a computer, a Mac, potentially Mac versus PC. the ecosystem, exactly as Jason describes, even with Google devices, when you've got a, the Google laptop, which has escaped the Chromebook. There you go, the Chromebook. So when you've got the Chromebook and you've got the phones and etc., the ecosystem, it's known that the ecosystem with versus Mac and Google and back to PC again, the ecosystem does win, and exactly what Jason's saying. So that seamless user experience, yes, people love the experience, and yes, you do pay more, but interestingly, I've got my oldest Mac, which is my iBook. And as a matter of fact, that actually props up my current MacBook Pro just as a bit of a plinth. But if I open that up and turn it on, it functions the day that I actually closed it. And that is from the early 2000s. And I'm just about to, coming in this year, I'm upgrading to an M2. The new iteration of the new Mac silicon, Apple silicon. But this laptop is literally from 2015, and it does everything I want it to. It's just a little bit slower than I need at the moment. So the longevity that you can get out of a Mac is something astounding. And
don't
I've
do all the
never had that with a
upgrades.
PC. Yeah, well, you can. Like I'm running on the last upgrade that I possibly can. And I run a really lean ship, and I've actually got some amazing tools that help me keep my Mac moving forward as well. So there's some great Mac tools that you can get that extra little bit of longevity out of it. But there we are. Point taken. There are a lot of things, especially in the VR world.
Yeah,
absolutely. But for a lot of the reasons that people use their computer in their rooms, there's a lot of ways you can use a PC. But anyway, thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Stuart. Peter. You there, Peter?
Oh, yeah, sorry. First of all, just to let you know, I'm upgrading my modem because I think that's breaking down, and that's why I wasn't answering and so on, and it keeps cutting out and so on. So I should get that this week. That's the first thing. The second thing is, my question is this. I've been using MS everything for a long time. So I've got MS Outlook and so on with all my internet and emails and so on. So if I change to Google, how does that just change over? Is that something that can just sort of like be easy to use everything there instead?
Google is easy to use. I think it's easier than Microsoft. There are a lot of options to replace pretty much everything Microsoft, and they're all free. The exclusion to that is when you say Outlook, are you talking about like your business email? Yeah. So that can be changed to Gmail. It'll be a business Gmail account, and you'll still have your customized domain email and all of that. The emails and all of that can be transferred over as well. With that, since it's a business account and business email, that will have a cost to it, but you also get more storage with your Google Drive and all of the normal features. Depending on your plan, you actually unlock more features with like Google Docs and all of those. So it's up to you. You can test it. Do you have a free Gmail account?
Somewhere.
Yeah. So you can even create a new one, since Gmail accounts are free. You can just create a new.
The trouble is that I got the Gmail account many years ago on a business that hasn't been running for like 10 years, and I can't get rid of it, and it just keeps saying that's the one. I say, no, it isn't. It's another one. Keeps going back to it.
Okay.
So I'm stuck on that.
All right, thank you, Fred.
But there you go. All right, I'll work on that. Thanks.
Lip reading me. Yep. And I used to be a PC guy, And like Stu, I just moved over and never looked back. And I just replaced my MacBook about a month ago now, maybe a little bit longer. And I'd had it for 11 years, and it just started to get a little bit slow. So I decided, well, maybe after 11 years, it's time to upgrade. So I've now got the M2 Stuart, and it is blindingly fast. It's an amazing little machine. Yes, it's a bit more expensive than the thing, but it just, it runs all day on battery. Usually I've got it on charge most of the time, but if I unplug it, I can run it for a day and a bit on battery, and it's amazing, lightweight, fastest thing I've had on my desk in years. So I'm a Mac guy. Never go back.